I would like to introduce myself first, and first of all, how many of you know the book Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged? It's quite a lot. Hello? Yeah, quite a lot. So that was my kind of first gateway to libertarianism. I was born in USSR in 1974, so I'm 51 now. And this is my schoolmates. When we finished school in 1991, I was 17. The Soviet Union was still there, falling apart. But we were full of hope. If you know perestroika, the word from 1985, when Gorbachev started changes, we were living in those changes, full of hope, well-educated, feeling that peace is the main thing on earth. We should stay peaceful, be kind to our neighbors, and of course we were against any kind of imperialism. That was our generation. And we were inspired. Me personally, I was inspired by space exploration. Maybe you can recognize this space shuttle, and you may think that this is an American space shuttle program, but actually not. It was USSR twin, Buran. It's in first and only one successful mission. Inspired by technologies, inspired by changes, being tech savvy, me and my partner Evgeny, my business partner Evgeny, we made a company Euroset. It's like European quality retail chain with lots of outlets all across Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, Kazakhstan, and other ex-USSR countries. It was more than 5,000 shops, about 10 million mobile phones sold annually, and revenue was multi-billion dollars revenue, US dollars. And there was more than 100 mobile phones on our shelves, but one and only one book there, which we translated officially from English to Russian. It was Atlas Shrugged. That trilogy inspired many of our customers who bought mobile phones to read it and to believe in libertarians' values. And being Nouvarish, we sold the business. I moved to United Kingdom, and I was in a position to put in for the last 16 years, along with my friend. And of course, being Nouvarish, I went through lots of challenges and mental changes, and I had to work hard to evolve. And I got some insights, and I would like to share with you my perspective on a human history. You may not think about it before. So humanity is known for 300,000 years. Scientists are saying that last 15,000 generations, humans are living in tribes. And probably one of the most remarkable achievement or invention of tribes is fire. A fire is dangerous, but it can serve us if we treat it properly, if it's under our control. And I just wanted to point out that 98% of the time of our humanity, 98% of our history was actually us, our ancestors, living in tribes. And being tribal animals, and human is an animal, sorry if I offend anyone, but please read Wikipedia. We were gathering together, fight with wild animals, and after that, stay free again. In each tribe, everyone would have enough individual freedom, and much more than we do have right now. And I think this freedom is very natural. And my insight, my instinct after all my personal changes is to actually stay more to our instincts and trust more to our deep instincts rooted into that tribal genes. But of course, 10,000 years ago, or 12,000, we started to live more settled life with growing crops, getting more rich, and our ancestors invented marriage. Marriage is an official way mostly how to inherit wealth to our official children. But more or less, people were still staying free inside their kind of family tribes, kind of that. And of course, there was, after that, cities, but still more personal relationship. And only when the letters and records being invented, then our ancestors got more depersonalized situation when we got states. And the head of the state is king most of the time. And we all know that there is a phrase, the king died, so we greet a new king, right? And this phrase is meaning that actually the king, the personality of the king, is not as important as state. So our relationship of our ancestors to the state were more important than relationship to the king, effectively. And as we see by this phrase, the state could not stay without head, but at the same time, the state was more than king. So the new empires invented the way how they would conquer tribes, enslave those tribes, enslave members of the tribe, to bring bigger army and enslave more and more tribes. So nowadays, there are no more tribes, effectively, apart from maybe Amazon River. But there are about 200 nations. And nations are not people. And the concept of nations is different from concept of united people. And those nations have United Nations. So I wanted to show to you this picture of war and horses being killed. Horse normally is a free, big animal. Riding free, horse doesn't need human. Horse needs grass. But somehow, humans made selection of horses, domesticated them, and for many centuries, horses served humanity as a weapon, as a tool to fight. And it was against horse genes. So if we release horse to the wild nature, 1 or 2 generations, they will be wild. So it's not natural for horse genes to be a kind of empire animal. And what I'm trying to say is an analogy, modern nations are trying to make us kind of an empire animal, domesticate us to be an empire. Like in movie Matrix, if you do remember Mr. Smith, there was lots of Mr. Smith. And if you do remember, the helicopter pilot at some point became Mr. Smith. But when he was shot down, he kind of got back to his original nature, being a helicopter pilot. And we all think that helicopter pilots are smart guys. And we trust them. So, why humans are not yet domesticated? Why we are not all Mr. Smiths? However, I look at lots of Russians who stays in Russia, and I feel they are more like on Mr. Smith's side now. But why not all of us? The reason why is because empires are not as strict as guys who selected horses. Selection horses is a strict environment. You just choose one or two to breed and the others to not. While as a humans, we always could escape. You know, being as sailors on ships, and effectively it's kind of a tribe, or escape to an island, or escape to some rural areas and live our lives far from capitals, so far from empire dominance. But we see now that empires are getting more and more grasp. And when I say empires, it's equal for me to nations. I mean, nation and empire for me is the same. We see China, for example, are making a new babies, more suitable for some purposes of state. And being Russian, I read Russian news when members of Russian parliaments are now officially saying that they need women to breed future soldiers, and they want to have a special DNA for the certain type of genetics just strictly for those children to become soldiers, with no other choices. And this is a warning signal, maybe kind of a wake-up call for all of us. Because we may be one of the last generations with inner freedom. We are all not sovereign. We know that. You know, if police or army will come to here, we cannot fight, right? We can be arrested, all of us, easily. So we are not sovereign physically here on this land, but of course, thanks to Javier Milei, we feel now more free here in Argentina, in Buenos Aires. Thank you to him. And thank you for Argentinian people, of course. But we are still sovereign digitally. We are still sovereign inside us. We have inner sovereign, especially everyone who is here. We are libertarians. But we may face a situation when our future generations, our children or grandchildren, may not feel the same. And you know, Koreans, same people, but there are two different choices. And we all know what's going on in North Korea. I'm not saying that we should choose South Korea, the governance of the big corporations, which is likely to happen in the future if we will do nothing. I think there is even better way, better than South Korea. So what I'm saying is, I think there is a crisis, like fire, which was adopted by tribes hundreds of thousands of years ago. Internet, and especially large language models, artificial intelligence, is a crisis now. It's a huge risk and a huge opportunity. So we can be enslaved by corporations or by big nations, big empires, with surveillance, with big data being used against us. Or we can take everything in our hands and actually set up new rules and use internet on a certain way which would guarantee our digital sovereignty first. And through that digital sovereignty and through unity of us people, not nations, we could actually further, in the future, may have even some real physical sovereignty. But this is kind of a dream, while digital sovereignty is kind of a reality. And I will say you how. But first of all, the question is who? Who can do now this evolution in the right direction? And I wanted to say that there are lots of people, kind of same age like me, or younger, who was inspired by Ayn Rand, who went on the streets to protest against tyrannies in Russia, against tyranny in Belarus. Those are hundreds of thousands of people who were on the protest on the streets. But even 10 times more, millions of people were on our side, dreaming of peace, being pacifists, being anti-war. And lots of those people are now in exile. They left Russia, they left Belarus, they left other ex-USSR countries, and they are living in Cyprus. They are living in Georgia. They are living in many other countries, dreaming that tyranny in Russia or Belarus will fail and they will come back and build a country like we were building new Russia, pro-Western Russia in 90s or beginning of 2000, beginning of this century. But those people are kind of idling now. So they would easily come to Argentina and help here if they would have a good condition to stay here and live here. So I wanted to thank Montelibera, and I believe that Montelibera is that kind of people, libertarians. They organize me to give a speech to you, and we have representatives of Montelibera here in this auditorium, so please welcome to talk to us. Me personally, I am kind of partnering with Montelibera, but I deeply admire Montelibera, so they made sets of rules, they made documents, they have their own judge. So it's a real community, they're helping a lot, and I think it's worth to pay attention and it's worth to admire this community and cooperate with them. So Montelibera unite a lot of people, quite a lot of people, and I think values are very similar. Liberty is the value number one, and if, for example, Argentina will welcome Montelibera, then I think it is highly likely that lots of people can move here and help. So it could be win-win situation. Me personally, I am making a bit different project. I call it Civilization 1.0. So it's effectively just a WhatsApp group. But the key thing is the modern democracy has been proven of falling apart. The situation when one person is one vote doesn't work anymore. We see populism is rising. Trump, Putin, they just use TikTok, and people who don't think, who don't care, vote for them. While the real leaders also kind of stuck in their audience. They have 1, 2, 5, 10 million audience on YouTube. They can say something, they can be heard, but they cannot represent lots of people. And they are not legitimate, because even someone have like 5 or 10 million followers on YouTube, it doesn't mean anything. There are, let's say, Russian leaders, Russian opposition leaders who come to Europe and say, okay, hey, can we speak on behalf of Russians in exile? And European bureaucrats saying, no, you cannot. So my idea is to create a community, a society. And the main thing is, how can we make decisions which would be more wise, more legitimate? How can we give more power to wisdom? Effectively kind of protected democracy, or if you like, meritocracy, where everyone has got his vote, but more wise people, experts, have more votes than one, have bigger weight. And of course, this is a very hard process because it's a democratic process. We're all discussing it. We are all testing various options. But the good thing, we are already a community. We made some documents, we made some decisions, we vote for, so we are evolving. And I think when Winston Churchill said that democracy is a bad thing, but no one invented anything better, you know what? He was right, but it was 80 years ago, in 1946 or 1948. And it was 2 months before a semiconductor was invented. So now we've got devices in our hands with millions or billions semiconductors, I don't know how much. And I think it's time to invent something better than just simple one person, one vote democracy. We can invent something better. I call it protected democracy. Protected from populism and protected from just a single leader with a big and strong bureaucratic machine. I think we have to invent a true democracy when no one have superpower. Of course, everyone who is a great, of course, great minds are empowered more than weak minds or ill-minded people, but no one has superpower. And that's what I'm doing right now. At the moment, this project is on Russian, but I strongly encourage you to make a group on Spanish or English or any other language. So there are lots of other projects where Russians are participating or having initiative. Hundreds of thousands of Russian-speaking people is in Cyprus. There is Zuzalo in Montenegro and among with Montelibero. There is Nuanu in Bali. Ora Bora is another big community. True Russia Foundation founded by famous writers like Boris Akunin and Oleg Radzinsky. And there are other projects. So we are all effectively creating a community, a tribes of our dream. And this is kind of futuristic imagination, and lots of people are inspired by this picture. So, but these communities, they need to be served. We need to facilitate those people. If they are united, you know, it's really hard. If hundreds of people or thousands of people are united, how can they communicate? And what can they do? How can we make them being independent from big platforms? And here is our foundation, Meta-State Foundation. So Meta-State is effectively knowledge about states, right? So we just think how state should be done. And we made a foundation, a non-profit, and we're developing an IT infrastructure for this, block by block. We're just at the beginning of that. And being at the beginning, we made the first block of this, the first application, which is identity. And this identity will have persistent ID, which will stay forever. And this ID is step number 1 for whatever you build. And we are not insisting that this application must be used in every community. It's kind of an open protocol being publicly shared on GitHub, GitLab, so everyone can build something similar and compete. Anyway, it's non-profit. It's free to use. So what I'm saying is our Meta-State Foundation is working on IT infrastructure for us being free. And the key idea of that, digital sovereignty, is separate algorithms from data. Our data is our freedom. If we keep all our data with us, big platforms cannot do anything. Because only our data in our clouds, in our electronic vaults, will be a valid one. And any other data will be sealess data, will be data which is no longer valid. So those core principles are defined on metastate.foundation website, so you can visit and see it. And I'm happy to talk more about technical points in questions and answers. I'm not sure how tech savvy you are and how deeply you're interested in that. So what I wanted to show in this is that horses are born free, and I believe humans are born free too. So I think we are enjoying seeing freedom. But freedom is in our hands. And if we will consciously use internet, if we will say no to algorithms which not return data to us, which effectively taking all the data from us, then quite soon our accounts and our children's accounts and grandchildren's accounts will be effectively enslaved by big corporations and big states, empires. But if we will use certain set of rules, then everything will be in our hands and we will be digitally sovereign. So what I would like to emphasize is, if you read this book, Ayn Rand, this trilogy, the last part is A, so the time to act. And I made a WhatsApp group for everyone with a QR code, and I'm inviting you guys to join this group and discuss how can we be digitally sovereign, what kind of rules we can use, how can we help each other to be digitally sovereign, how can we build internet and infrastructure and use it, which will be free, competitive, decentralized, and truly sovereign. And we will have some workshops and we will have some web meetings when we will discuss it further. So thank you for your time, and I'm happy now to answer your questions. Thank you.